Robin Fisher, and I grew up in District 129 family. My husband and I decided to raise our 3 children here as well. I actually didn't give him much choice. I wanted our kids to have the educational opportunities that our district provides. And I really couldn't wait for them to experience what it was like to be a West Aurora Blackhawk. For the last 21 years, I've been the hearing itinerant for this district, and I love my job working with the students, teachers, and families all across the district. But I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for my family, the teachers, and the opportunities that I experienced in this district that helped create my path. It's such a huge part of who I am today, my history. So what's your history with District 129? My story actually began back in the 1920s. I know I don't look that old, do I? When my grandparents were young. My grandparents grew up on the west side of Aurora and attended District 129 schools. And at the time, Freeman Elementary School was a brand new K-8 school where my grandfather would attend the first year that it opened. It was a prominent memory for him because the opening was delayed due to a contractor's strike. And the contractors actually set off a bomb in Freeman Gym, and an entire wall needed to be repaired. And if you look closely today, you just might be able to see a slight difference in the color of the bricks. My grandparents attended the Old West High on Blackhawk Street during the Great Depression. And during that time, not many schools were able to stay open due to the financial strain, but West Aurora School District was able to offer a fully functioning high school, so my grandparents were able to participate in sports, clubs, activities, and even the infamous Thanksgiving East-West football games on Heard's Island. My grandmother was very proud of the fact that she was part of the pep club that named the Black Hawk as our school symbol. And my grandfather was greatly influenced by his favorite teacher, Lucia Goodwin. Sound familiar? She was his trigonometry teacher at West High. He graduated in 1935, but due to the Depression, could not afford to go directly on to college, like so many students at that time. District 129 invited all of the graduates back to continue their education at West High, and they were known as the postgraduates. There they are, the postgraduates. Soon after, he was ready to go on to Aurora College, which we know as Aurora University. And after turning down an opportunity to become an artist for a man named Walt Disney, he went on to be a successful engineer and invented many of the steel locking mechanisms that we use today. A fiercely loyal family man, he wanted to stay in Aurora and build a life with my grandmother, and I am so glad he did. My parents also grew up on the west side of Aurora and attended District 129 schools. My mother is currently an office professional at Goodwin School and is in her 28th year in the district. She attended Freeman School during the time when the superintendent of our district, Harold Fern, had his office in the basement. He lived in the community and would walk to school daily along with his students. My parents met in study hall at West High, and yes, and my father apparently spent the entire class period trying to get my mother's attention. Fortunately for me, his strategy worked, and they became high school sweethearts, and they later settled in North Aurora, where they raised my brother and me. My story continues on through my years at Goodwin Elementary School, where I first discovered my love for teaching. Mrs. Martinson, who was a neighbor of mine, but also a first grade teacher at Goodwin, shared her passion for teaching with me. She would let me help her make classroom materials and organize her classroom over the summer. And there was something so exciting to me about getting ready for another group of students, getting that classroom prepared. And really, who didn't love the smell of those dittos? Right? We had no internet to browse in the 70s, but instead the Goodwin Library had a large file cabinet, and in it was just tons of these expandable file folders full of various topics. And one day I came across a file on Helen Keller, and it had all sorts of really interesting information. It had a Braille card, sign language alphabet, and all sorts of other interesting information about blindness and deafness. And I used to go back to that file every chance I could. I was totally hooked. So my story goes on through my years at Washington Middle School. Yeah. Sorry. 8th grade. Where I had the most amazing English teacher, Mr. Pennington. And he could read the telltale heart in a way that made the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. And then there was Miss Roth, who taught us about the Boston Tea Party, while we all got to sit and sip on our own cups of tea. By the end of middle school, I was already very influenced by the teachers and the opportunities in this district. I had a great time at West High, and very big hair. Oh my gosh. Didn't we all? At that time, I already knew that I wanted to be a teacher, but my path became even more solidified during my junior psychology class. We were talking about special education, and we had a deaf educator come in who was a deaf educator in our district. And at the time, I had no idea we even had deaf students in our schools. Miss Blanchard, now Jill Zine, she spoke about being a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing. She talked about her students, and she used some sign language. And at that point, everything came together for me. I can remember racing downstairs to my guidance counselor, Dottie Lavoie, right after class. My senior year, I was accepted into the Deaf and Hard of Hearing program at Illinois State University, where I went on to student teach at the Colorado School for the Deaf and Blind, an inner city school in Chicago, and then right back here at Lincoln Elementary School in District 129. Soon after, I was hired on as a hearing itinerant teacher, and having the opportunity to give back to the community where it all began for me was just so amazing. On any given day, I teach language to lip reading skills, I teach auditory and self-advocacy skills, I monitor students with hearing loss and troubleshoot their equipment and support the teachers and the parents. My students range in age from 3 all the way through 21, and I have had the privilege of having preschoolers and being able to follow them all the way through high school graduation, which is really special. I treasure the relationships that I have with my students and their families, and I am just so blessed to be a part of their history here. And whether you are a Westboro alum, or you've spent the majority of your career here, or you're just at the beginning of your career in District 129, you are all an important part of the rich history in our district and should feel so proud of the long-standing tradition of excellence that we have in our schools. Today, I challenge you to inspire your students to create their own story here through the opportunities and the experiences that you provide for them, because this is where it all begins, with you, and the rest is history. Thank you.